Do this every time. Awesome. Let's go back to looking at some code. So let's go real quick. Let's look at my little lesson plan here. Okay, make sure we're covering everything. I do want to just quickly talk just for a moment about the process of web development. And you can actually look here, and I want to actually, so I'm going to hide that. I'm going to hide that. Type into the text box the people that are involved in a web development project. You can, and so you haven't been in one, then you can just guess. Who would be the people that you think would be involved in a web development project? Who would be what we call the stakeholder? Stakeholders is another word we can use. Who has an interest in a web development project? Just start typing. You get 25 people. Start typing in the answers. Let's go. I want to hear. See some. Maybe giving you a few there, but I'm hiding them. Right, a designer. What kind of designer? Let's be specific. I'm a designer, but am I a graphic designer? No. Okay. Am I a UX designer? Okay, what's a UX designer? UX designer is a user experience designer. Okay. Web page designer. Okay. Graphic designer. UI, user interface designer. Okay, so we got developers and designers. Who else would have an interest in a web development project for a particular client, for example? Depends on what the requirements are, for sure, Rafael. The client, okay, is a stakeholder, has a big interest. Okay, keep going. There's more people involved in this. Ultimately, who's making money? Who makes decisions? Who works with the client? So again, the client and the user. Well, the user could be the client. Back-end developer, programmers. Okay, so we got the devs, the manager. Okay, right. So now we're getting back towards where I'm trying to get to. The team lead leads the project. So the team lead leads the software part of the project, usually the technical side. The manager, multiple kinds of managers. You can have project managers, again, who are there to just coordinate everyone's activities. That includes the designer, the developer. There's another manager which has a specific name, which is the product manager. The product manager usually is the one who is dealing directly with the client, and their job is to define the product. So sort of define what the requirements are, what features are going to go into the product. And so, for example, they may meet with the client, have some interviews, maybe talk to them what they think they want. Clients don't always know what they want, okay? And so sometimes we need to suggest. But we'll come back from the client with all his suggestions, his needs. We may do a user study where we go in and we watch them using the product or the process, for example, that they want to automate. Watching them actually do the process, whether it's a paper process, people process, and sit there and just watch and take notes. This is the kind of thing that we do when you get into 3410. It's our human factors class. It's called user-centered design. So the product manager and people might go out and they'll come together with requirements. Then they'll get together as a team. And it's very popular nowadays to have what's called an agile team. Agile is a software methodology, a little different than what we used to do. In the past, with projects like 20 years ago, 15, 20, 30 years ago, we used what's called a waterfall process, where we would define all the requirements. We would then do all the design. Then we would you know, go through coding each piece. You know, we code it up. We used to sort of do everything all at once. We do the, you know, like I say, the design piece, then, you know, requirements, then the design piece, then the coding piece, and then we would maybe go through an alpha test where we put it out there with the user, and he'd go, oh, you know, he'd come back with feedback, and then maybe we'd make some changes, and then we do a beta test, and then we would release the product. Unfortunately, the problem with the waterfall method was that there was way too much time between, you know, I mean, if I did all the requirements and design up front, well, then what happens when I want to redesign? And if I go code everything, just know that coding stuff costs a lot of money. Programmers are very expensive. Okay. And they, so ideally what you want to do is you want to prototype things very quickly. So you want to do little pieces, you do a little bit and then show it to the client. Ask them, is this what you want? Are we getting at the right thing, right? And they say yes. They go, Bob, you're, you know, great. So Agile is a new method that actually takes a cross-functional team. So I've got a product manager, a graphic designer. I might have a marketing person. I'll have developers, okay, all on a single team. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to mute my phone. That's what I'm going to do real quick. We would have a bunch of people on the team. And so the designers would go and they maybe design something that say, hey, developers, can you go ahead and quickly mock up something really quickly that kind of looks like this or shows this concept? And what we do in an Agile team is that we do one thing at a time. We do 2 to 3 weeks, we call sprints. And we take one feature or a small set of features and we implement those and actually deliver them as if they were done. So we actually spend 2 weeks, we code them up, we deliver them as if they were done, and then we go to the client. We have what's called a sprint review, and we say, client, you know, is this right? You know, I didn't like that. Let's you know. So then we go back and we iterate. But we've only spent 2 weeks. We haven't spent 6 months building a product. Okay, but also ideally, maybe as we're developing it, we're talking to the client every day. We are bringing the client into our meeting where appropriate. And so you have your client involved all the time. So again, when you get in the industry, most companies now are using this Agile approach. And so what that works is you don't necessarily know the entire vision for the whole product. You know the first 3 features that you want to implement, and you just go and you implement those, check it off, implement that, check it off, implement that, check it off. And then you have a review and you say, okay, what do we want to do next? Oh, hey, based on the last 3 sprints, I think we now need to do this, right? Again, instead of us programmers who graduate, we're kind of arrogant, we got a degree, we can code anything, we can design anything. I've done this before. I mean, I've done, I don't know, 30 or 40 projects in the industry. I consulted for 30 years, doing mostly for my own company. And so I did many projects. I made many mistakes along the way. One of those mistakes was, you know, I know it's best. Okay. It's called genius design. So I know it's best. I'm going to design it. You're just going to consume it. You know, tough luck, right? That design approach doesn't necessarily work very well. Any questions at all? Cool. Well, that's, again, something I just wanted to, a topic I wanted to throw out there. Again, just so that you sort of you're aware of what the industry is like. Also, what possibilities for you. So, for example, there are people maybe in this class right now who are realizing, I hate the coding side of things. I don't like to code so much. But gosh, I really love the UI side, right? So as you go along, you say, I love doing user interface. I love, you know, that part of it, right? You may consider, you know, becoming a UX designer. Okay, some of you may want to go and be hardcore programmers. Okay, some of you may, again, I'm not sure what all of you are, you know, if you're all CS track. If you're in digital media or another track and you're taking Web 1, another program and taking Web 1, throw it out there. I like to see sort of what, you know, where you all come from. So feel free to just sort of throw out there on the chat. If you're not sort of just CS track, and by the way, I totally recommend going into the full stack web track. Not just because I'm the director of the full stack program, but I came from industry and I know that full stack web and mobile development is one, extremely popular, and just about 80% of the jobs out there are full stack jobs. If you go look at the KSL, I don't have anybody, no one's commented yet. So everyone's CS track. There's nobody coming. There's nobody in any other track.
I'm DGM.
Okay, you're DGM. Good, thank you. Okay, excellent. I think the digital media program, and I'm really good friends with Mike and Dan, all those guys over there. Again, they do the design part really well. The CS department doesn't do the design part very well. I mean, they have one class. I teach it. It's the only UX design class. And I think, but CS track people aren't required to take it. Only the software engineering track and full stack web track. So that's a little confusing to me. I'm trying to convince the department that every software developer needs to actually know how to design or to do user-centered design and actually know how to do a UI, because just about everything you write has a UI. Again, unless you're just like a totally back-end guy and you're just you want to do databases, you want to do object-oriented, backends and frameworks. It's all very predictable and testable, and so I can see why some people like that. The UI side is what I've been passionate about since the very beginning. Since I came out of grad school in 1990, a long time ago, folks. Why do I like UI? Because every UI is different. Because it's different because every client and every user base is different. So if I'm writing a product for children, it's different than if I'm writing the same project for elderly people or millennials. So UI is it can be complex, but it requires, it kind of makes it fun. Okay. I love this industry also because the fact that every 10 years or so, it completely turns itself on its head with regards to UI especially. So databases and backend stuff don't really change very much, okay? But UI, it changes a lot, okay? In the 80s, it was all command line programming with DOS. In the 90s, it was desktop applications with Microsoft Windows. The internet came up in the 90s, and then everyone said, I want to develop everything on the web. So we took all those desktop applications, converted them to the web. And then 10 years later, the iPhone was launched, okay? And now everyone wants everything we did on the web on mobile. And 10 years from now, we don't. So what's the next iteration? I think that it actually has to do with AI and artificial intelligence. It's gonna transform how we interact with computers and things, IoT, Internet of Things, things like that. So that's the cool thing about UI is it kept me interested for 30 years. Why? Because it changed about every 10 years, like almost completely. 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about React or Angular or those frameworks that are the popular thing right now. I used Backbone and jQuery and other tools. 5 years from now, people might not be talking about React or Angular anymore. It'll be something different. Okay, so that's sort of my pitch for full stack. And again, I love UI. So I mean, I hope that some of you also learn to enjoy that. All right, thank you for allowing me to stand on my soapbox for a minute. I'm going to just show you a couple of things. One of my favorite templates that I use. What I mean by template, if you go back here, actually, this Smart Admin web app, I purchased this, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago for like $70. And the cool thing about this is that I can take this, what it is a built-in framework. It has sort of everything all built in, like a whole kitchen sink built in for like a web application. And I can sort of take this for any web application. I've used it for multiple clients, and take sort of the framework of this, and I can go through and sort of pick and choose what I want, and then throw out the rest, and I can have a really interactive, really nice web application. And I'll just show you. I just want to kind of go through and show you the kind of possibilities and kind of widgets and and things that are out there with regards to web applications. Okay, so let's go to their. Let's see the home page. Boom. Okay. So this particular template. So a template, just so you understand a template. If I'm starting a website for someone or a web application, I can go out and get a graphic designer. I can go out. I can code all the CSS myself and do everything myself. But I am a developer. I didn't even have 3410 maybe when I graduated. I don't know much about design. How do I make something nice looking when my neighbor who owns a company, a small company, comes and says, "Hey, can you develop a website for me?" I'm like, well, do you need designer? We need a no. Can you just do it for me? I'll pay you $50 an hour, right? Oh yeah, sure. Okay. But I don't know how to design. Okay. So what I do is I go. This is what I'll do. I'll go to a site called like Wrap. It's called Wrap Bootstrap. So here's the theme. This is actually the theme that we're looking at. It's $69. All right. Now all the things that are in this template cost tens of thousands of dollars for companies to develop on their own usually. All right. But Wrap Bootstrap, Bootstrap's a framework that I'm not going to be teaching Web 1. We've relegated it to Web 2. But a CSS framework or template, a framework is like Bootstrap that some of these templates are built on. But a framework sort of Bootstrap gives you a bunch of widgets, a bunch of things like button bars and nav menus that are specialized and are really cool. Default layout and default colors and spacing, and you can if you're a non-programmer, if you're a non-designer, you can easily go and just download Bootstrap, and you can build a site that looks okay. All right. But if you want something even nicer looking, you can go to a place like Wrap Bootstrap, and here's all these templates. Look, I've got okay, that's the one I like. Okay. Let's go, responsive website template. Okay, I can go look at this one and say, oh, live preview. Okay, so this template already has a really nice menu. Okay, it's got some animations. It's got nice white space. It really sort of has I got this little image that seems to move when I move. Okay. And you see other sites too, right, where you're scrolling and the background kind of moves. That's called parallax scrolling. Okay. And you may just go to a site like this and say, okay, I like this site. I'm going to start with this. And then I'm just going to go change the buttons and change the images and, change the menus and change the content itself. Okay. But also look here. On this template, I've got a style switcher. Okay. This gives me your sort of standard 960 pixel width. Look, I got this background color. Let's see. I can change the font, content font. I can change to Railway. I can do a custom color theme. Let's see. My layout's wide. It's boxed. It's semi-boxed. Okay. I can change the margins on the outside. None, right? Peg to the top. I can choose my background. Okay. So this is pretty cool. This you call this like a style, a theme. Okay. But this is built in to the actual template that you purchase. So in 5 minutes, I've just shown you 20 different variations of this particular website and this theme. Okay, and it's 25 bucks. Okay, just remember that. You know, for 25 bucks, that's just a no-brainer because it's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars to develop what you just saw on your own. Okay. All right. Let's go back to my favorite little template here real quick. Okay, you can see here I've got a dashboard that's got a live chart update that's getting data live. I've got this little widget here. It's this sort of this big box that's going across here. It's got tabs. Let's see. I've got these mini chart widgets on the web. Again, right? You're going to be developing pretty much generic stuff this semester. I'm going to actually have you download and use a couple of like plugins or like I say, web widgets. You want to call them plugins. Most of the kind of cool stuff you're seeing here actually is going to be a plugin, and you're just going to download a JavaScript library, maybe some CSS, and then in your HTML you can just sort of just call it up and it automatically works for you. It's really nice. Again, we're going to get familiar with some plugins, but this is like the ultimate. This is this template has about every popular plugin known to man, all built into one framework. Okay, and so let's go up here. I got like a little hamburger menu. Again, this is just one of the widgets. I can collapse the left. I can collapse the entire menu. Okay. I can come over here and I can press on this and I can say, oh wow, look at this. I can make a fixed header, meaning as I scroll, that header doesn't move. Okay, let's go back here. Same thing, fixed navigation. That means now that the left-hand side and the top don't scroll. Okay, I can hide the navigation. I can minify the navigation by default. Let's see here. High contrast text. I can automatically turn that on so that my menu over here is high contrast. Okay. What other fun things? Global font size, large, medium, small. So I'm changing the entire application from this little control panel. I can change the color of my theme. Oh. Let's see. I can take an entire light theme, an entire dark theme. Okay. So pretty cool. And again, this costs 70 bucks. All right. Let's look at this too. I got these little widgets. Let's say I'm creating a dashboard. I can drag these around. This is all automatic. I don't have to code this. Okay. Okay. I can also take this and I can collapse it. I can expand it to full screen. Let's see. Oh, I'm actually deleting it. Okay. This one I can expand to full screen. Press escape or come down here. There's a calendar widget actually that you can actually use. You want to do an application that needs a calendar, you can just drop this in. Okay. So back 20 years ago, I used to build this kind of stuff from scratch. Okay. But nowadays you have all sorts of really interesting things. Yeah, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to just open mic or in the but let's go look at a couple things. For example, UI components. All right. One popular UI component is called a breadcrumb. And you've seen this as you navigate a site, as you go down through the hierarchy in the site, you have all these different, and there's about 20 different options here, okay, for breadcrumbs. A breadcrumb, again, is like Jack and Jill, right? You know, I'm down in breadcrumbs. If I want to go back up to UI components, I might click on that, or I want to go back to the home. I click on Smart Admin, and it will take me back to the beginning. Now it's not actually, doesn't look like it's wired up, okay? Accordions, and I built a billion of these myself, okay? Right? You want to collapse, you want to expand the accordion. Well, what's accordion's great, right? Because it allows you to put a ton of content now on the page, and all I need to do is expand the section that I want, okay? Cards are a very common theme. You see those all over the place. You go, let's go to Google. Let's search for food nearby. You're going to see Chick-fil-A. What's it going to do? Okay, it's going to give me a card. Okay. Times 1050. We ended 11:15. Okay. I want to make sure I leave time to talk about forms a little bit and to go over some of the things that you're learning. Right, so Jordan asked, these are widgets that you can utilize in your own unique projects. Yes. Okay. So again, if you bought this template, you could utilize any of the widgets in there. The trick when I first bought this template was that they gave you everything. You had to rip out what you didn't want. Nowadays, they give you an everything template, but they also give you sort of an empty template. And then what you do, then you can just sort of take the things that you want in the one, that you decide you like, and you throw them in. That's much easier than ripping out everything. But yeah, I mean, let's just, you can sort of take any kind of, I want to do it. I want a JavaScript. So I just showed you an accordion. I can just search for that. Accordion. Oh, there's a jQuery UI accordion. There's Squeezebox.js, 10 best accordions. Okay. Again, you go in, it shows you examples. Here's the source code. Here's the API documentation. Here's how you implement it. And basically, you just include the JavaScript file and the CSS or whatever that they require, and then you just put it right in your markup. Let's see. Let's go back. Yeah, so we're looking at cards for Chick-fil-A. Why do we use cards? Because they're just a common metaphor. People understand them. And so that's, again, it's just like if I go to Chick-fil-A, there's going to be a shopping cart. Every site where you purchase things, there's a shopping cart because that's a common thing and so you can also purchase shopping carts, okay, and go and find it, drop it in, right, and have your own shopping cart. All right, let's look at this. It's a list. So lists. Okay, I've got a list here, and I can filter my list. REP. Oh yeah, great. Okay, I've got filter accordion. Let's see. Anyway, all sorts of ways to do that. Nav bars. So these are your navigation components. Okay, I've got drop down menu. Let's say this is just a nav bar that goes at the top. I've got one here. Again, I say, hey, I like that. That looks nice. I'm going to use this. I'm just going to replace my logo. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm going to keep going. A carousel. There's a billion carousel widgets. They've chosen the best, most popular one. They kind of thrown it in their frame. But if you want something like that, which you see everywhere, right? With the little dots at the bottom, with the little right and left arrow. Again, you can get the widget, you can drop it in, and away you go. Okay. Let's go. You got all the possible spinners in the world. So when you're doing something, you want to show people that something's actually happening. Let's see. I'll try to show some more interesting things here. You want to have tabs in your application. Okay. Pills is another thing they call it. This is like a pill. They call it a pill. Okay. You want, yeah. So again, these are all things that you can frameworks. So Bootstrap gives you a lot of these sort of things out of the box. You can just use Bootstrap. This Smart Admin template, I paid for, goes like a lot further. It uses Bootstrap for the most part, but it's got every single widget known to man implemented and examples of it. So you can go into tables, for example, and look at the different table styles and choose one that you like and copy the code, right? How do you copy the code? Well, I can actually look at I can look at the page source if I want, and I can go, let's see here. I want to know how this table's configured, right? And then I can actually just go look, table border. Oh, it's got the table border class. I'm gonna copy this code, or and I'm gonna use it, right? So there's and you're learning about forms right now, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about the last sort of 15, 20 minutes. So password fields, email, okay, text fields. Look at sort of the style on these. As I click in, you have this border shows up. It shows up sort of slowly with animation, okay. Let's see, basic inputs. You have mask plugins. So look at this. If I want to do a time, I'm going to do 10 a.m. Let's see, a.m. This little input is restricting me 10:30 a.m. I could say p.m. Done. Okay. This restricts me to only the input that's possible. So the nice thing about that is that, and so no one can type. People can't type in anything invalid. And then when they submit it, right, I need to validate it like after the fact. It maybe goes into my database incorrectly. Okay. I'm going to say September 2020. Okay. Boom. Now I've got month and year. Same thing. I got a date. You also have date pickers. Okay. Same thing. These are all date pickers. Date picker is a built-in widget. But again, these are all things that you can. There's a time picker. Same thing. 11:33 a.m. So cool stuff. Color picker we just learned about. That's built into the DOM as well. Okay. Range slider. Okay. You can do custom ranges, select boxes. Okay, let's see here. Any questions? Again, there's way more here than I can spend quite a bit of time looking at it. But color pickers, custom date pickers, custom color pickers. Data tables is my favorite dynamic table. Basically, if you're populating data from the database and you want to have a dynamic table, data tables is a plugin that allows you to do that, and it gives you all sorts of cool things like sorting out the gate, paging. I want to do, show me 50, search, Prescott. Okay, you can get this kind of stuff completely out of the box and completely automatic just by using the data tables plugin. Okay, was that informative? Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's go into some code now. Actually, let's see real quick. Okay. And you started, let's see, talking about forms, or I think forms might be chapter 3. Let's see. And I think you learn about chapter forms and then you do more later. But I'm talking about forms a little bit today. Okay, so let's look at this form. Again, first of all, my standard, okay, was header for every HTML page. Okay, the meta char set UTF-8. I want my UTF-8 to be my character set. Viewport. I'm going to talk about that another time when we start talking about sizing and things like that. Got the title of my page. Okay, I want to create a form. Of course, that's a form tag. I say form. I say action equal wp.zybooks.com form viewer PHP. I stole that from Zybooks examples the nice thing about this is it's just a nice little form viewer. So when you submit the form, it actually tells you what was submitted, and it's actually quite cool. By the way, let's see, and then on the form I have method equal post. Okay. That's the HTTP method. So you guys have all filled out forms before on the web. Let's actually just run this real quick. Okay. Really ugly form. Haven't done really any styling on it. Okay. And my first name here, email address. It does probably not going to like me. So he says submit. Oh, all right. So it went ahead and posted that form. So when you filled out forms on the web, same thing. When you click that submit button, it redirects to a new page. Okay. And how many of you have used the back button and then it says, "Oh, are you sure you want to post this again?" It actually tries to repost your form. Okay. So just be aware. The default of most forms is to post that content to another page and redirect the browser to that page. Okay. And in this case, so usually what will happen is I'll fill out my form. Let's go back here. I'll post this. The action will go. Let's submit again. So this goes to zybooks.com form viewer PHP. So it might go to my website, abc.com form submit.php. Okay. And that PHP page on the back end will grab that data. It might pull it, the data you see here, the first name, last name, email, birthday, okay, and then throw it in my database, my MySQL database, okay, on the back end. And so that's generally what's happening, right? You're putting data into a form, you're submitting the form, and it's going somehow to the back end via multiple different ways, but ultimately it will get to the back end database and you'll store it. Okay. So post is the default. Okay. And you can see here again the form data that was posted. Now, let's go back to my code here. And so what was posted? First name, last name, email. First name, last name, and email were posted. Okay. Well, phone number wasn't posted. Why is that? I wonder. Okay. I'll tell you why, since you might not know. Okay. Let's look at the form. Let's look at this. So there's a label. And that's just, again, the label of the field. Okay. Let's go back to the actual form. First name is the label. Okay. And then I've got input type equal text. That's the most basic kind of input. It allows you to put, someone says I'm missing /div. Okay. Maybe that's old. Okay. So I got my input type equal text. ID, so the ID of any element, which you learned this already, right? First name, it's unique across the entire page. The name, first name. Now, ID and name are the same. Okay. Why do I have both here? Okay. Well, here's why. Because name is the key that gets posted, right? When we actually post this, okay, submit, you see that first name right here, that actually is the name attribute on the input. And here's the actual value that was typed in, okay? If you don't have a name attribute, then first name will not show up. In other words, it won't be submitted. So it's really useless on the form. If I remove that, I'm never going to be able to submit anything, okay, to the back end, okay? And so you noticed here that it posted first name, last name, because I put content in there. Let's actually go here and change this to a get, so I can demonstrate a couple things to you. Okay. Just about every request you make on the web is a HTTP GET request. If I just say CNN.com, Google.com, it's going to make a GET request to the server, okay, for that web page. Okay. How much time do I have? 10 minutes. Okay. If I do a GET, let's actually just show you the difference between the two now. Let's go ahead and back here. Okay, gonna select a couple of these, gonna select the radio button, deselect one of those, select that. I'm gonna select a color, okay. Submit, okay. So submitted form data, first name, last name, email, item 2, item 3, throw party, restaurants. Those are the only ones that actually have, looks like they're the only ones that actually have a name field. Okay, so those are the ones that are getting passed back, but notice, the requested URL has this little thing here. Does anyone know what that's called? Any of our web developers out there know what that's called?
It's a query string.
Thank you very much, web developer. You must be a web developer because or did they teach you that in Zybooks? How did you learn that?
I am a web developer.
Thank you. Okay. So you notice here, first name equal, and then the actual content. Last name, same thing. Email, same thing. Okay. It's all, but here's the thing. The difference between a GET and a POST is a GET, this data is all in the URL. Now, do you think that it's probably optimal to show the URL, because it's something that's visible to users and to other people. So here we're showing data from the user on the URL, okay, which you can see right up here. What if he put his social security number in? Well, we don't generally like to do that, but okay, we want to make sure that that data stays safe. So now it's not totally safe. If I make it a post, what happens is that this data gets stuffed in what we call the post body, okay, which is part of the request, but it's not visible on the URL. Okay, if you don't have SSL enabled or security enabled across the wire, then any real smart hacker with a sniffer can grab your packets and look at your data. Just okay. But this is using a post is one way to sort of hide it and not expose it. The other thing is, if I have a lot of data, let's say I'm posting an image, okay, I don't really want, your query string off the top of my head, 32K, I don't know the right off the top of my head, the maximum, but there's a max, okay? But let's say I had a big form, I was actually uploading an image, and you want to upload all that in the post body. You don't want to try to do a GET and put everything, in a huge encoded string of, a meg, right, on your URL. It doesn't work, and you don't want to do it. Okay. Let's go back here. About 5 minutes. All right. So the placeholder, again, really handy little thing. When I don't have content there, it shows enter your last name here. This is it's nice and useful. Some people actually don't have a label and they just have the placeholder. What's the drawback of that? Anyone can see that the problem right off? What's the problem right off? If I don't have a label and I have one of these nice little things here, I start typing, I don't know now what that field was. I need to empty it to actually see what the label is. Okay, so having them both is nice. I would do both, but I would not exclude my label. Let's put it that way. Okay. Yeah, it's very well that I could have a hanging div somewhere. Someone was mentioning, because I was copying and pasting a lot of code. Oh yeah, I did. Cancel. You are absolutely correct. That should be a div. and I copied and pasted some other code that had p tags. Well, no, see div. Yeah, I got some other ones that are enclosed in p tags. All right. Okay, let's quickly just go down. And again, you learned about sort of basic things. If I have input type equal text, let's say I make this type equal email. Let's make it required. I'm gonna save that. Go back to my web page. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna submit. Oh, I get this ugly. Please fill out this field. Okay, I'm gonna go. Now that message didn't come from me, right? That was actually a default HTML5 message. And if you really want to do your own form validation and make it look nice and do it the way you want to do it, you want to maybe suppress that. I'll show you how to do it. We got 5 minutes. So I got something in there, and I'm going to press submit. Oh, please fill out this field. Email. Okay. I'm going to type in Ken. Oh, please include an @ in the email address. Ken is missing an @. Okay. Okay. I tab out. Okay. Let's see if it allows me to submit. Nope. Please enter the part following the @ Okay. So again, there's built-in UI for basic form validation. If you want to just use the basic form validation, and let's go back to our code. I'm going to go up to the form. I'm just going to show you real quick. If I say no validate, okay, I'm going to say save. I'm going to go back to my page. I'm going to reload it. I'm going to click submit. Okay. The default HTML5 validation did not fire. Okay. And it still allowed me to submit. Okay. So you only want to do that if you want to take control of the validation. And I want to show my own error messages, and I want to, I want to take the data and do something else with it, right? I don't want to do the default action, okay? But the browser always has a default action. The default action for submit button is to take the data from the form and post it, or do a GET request to the action URL, okay? So let's go back here. And go ahead and leave the kind of weird stuff in there. But again, there's tell, so same thing. It won't allow me to enter a telephone number that's incorrect. So I start putting, that shouldn't, hey, what's going on here? Let's go back. Oh. My no validate's not working. 1 second. Let's go back here. Okay, good. Please fill this field. Last name, email. I'll do a real email. I'm gonna start typing that in there. Submit. Interesting. Looks like my telephone. Oh, look. You know what? It doesn't even care about my phone number. Why? There's no name there. Okay. I didn't notice that at first. Okay. And we're not going to make this required because I don't want to type it in again. Okay. Hard. Maybe the phone thing. I'll have to circle back around on that. All right. Let's go 11:50. Oh, time's almost up. All right. Checkboxes, real quick. Something you need to understand. So checkboxes. We'll do them. We'll do radio buttons. Okay. As you can see, there's actually on the form, I've got 3 radio buttons, but when I only want to send back the selection for one of them, right? Okay. And so you'll notice here that the name on these 3 inputs is restaurants. So that if you share the same name, okay, then the value that gets sent back to the server is going to be Pizza Hut, Starbucks, or Subway. So it's going to be restaurants, and then whatever selection, whatever value is selected. I can do a unique ID on here for each of these 3, okay, but I cannot. But that here, so here's where name comes in handy. Name does not have to be unique across multiple inputs. ID has to be unique. Okay, and so this allows me to group my radio buttons in a single radio button group. And looks like time is up. Just going to show you this. Again, color selector. Okay. Oops. Input type equal color. Okay. So very handy. Lots of good stuff that they built into HTML now that can give you a pretty nice looking interface without having to download plugins. So you should, what I would do as you're going through, I would sort of just play around with every sort of widget and get to know forms well, because you're going to be doing forms going forward. Forms are a core of just about every application that you do. Why? Because every web application is what we're going to end up being what we call a CRUD app. CRUD is you're going to create something like a team. You're going to edit the team or the person. You're going to create a person. You're going to edit the person. You're going to delete the person out of the database. Okay. You might update the person. Okay. You might want to change the data for that person. So at the end of the semester, you're going to build a full CRUD application using forms and tables and such. So let's see here. And I realize the time is up. So let's see. I now have 5 days off. I'm really excited. Any questions? By the way, I mean, we have a Monday, obviously no school. We'll see you on Tuesday. Feel free to ping me. I'm always on Discord, and I'm also available on Teams. Our TA has also made himself available. Just note that, like, if you look at what you're doing this semester, you have a whole bunch of labs and Zybooks chapters. It's all auto grading. So we don't have a lot to do until we actually start giving you manual graded projects. So me and the TA have 4 or 5 hours each week, at least, or more, to sit down with you and go over things with you and help you. So please don't be afraid after what I said this morning to get some help. If you want me to explain certain concepts, happy to do it. Okay. Again, let's see. Any questions, thoughts? If you open up the mic if you want to chat. Stay on for a minute if you'd like to chat. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now. Leave this open for a minute in case anybody